What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Klaudless and Indy. I'm Christian with Klaudlessmedia, and welcome back to another episode of The Final Pour, the mini-series where we crack open and chronicle the last remaining beers of Triton Brewing. And today's episode, I'm going to be presenting the hometown hero, Golden Ale, a smooth, approachable brew crafted right here in Fort Benjamin Harrison, Lawrence, Indiana. This Golden Ale clocks in at 4.5% ABV and lands around a comfortable 16 IBUs. Light enough to sip casually, yet flavorful enough to remind you why Triton was such a respected local name. This beer was brewed with everyone in mind, and the name Hometown Hero fits like a glove, a tribute to everyday legends and local pride. Now, let's talk design. This can ditches the fruity colors of earlier episodes and instead opts for a bold, almost patriotic look. The top half is a matte black, giving it a confident, grounded presence, while the bottom half is a calm steel blue with subtle wave patterns. A sharp red stripe wraps the base of the can, mirroring the red trident emblem up top, a subtle nod to strength and legacy. Compared to the vibrant mango or blueberry goes cans, this one looks more stoic, almost military in tone, fitting for a beer that salutes the locals. The Golden Ale, also known as a blonde ale, is a gateway style in the craft beer world. It's meant to be drinkable, refreshing, and balanced, a good alternative to domestic lagers, but with just a touch more flavor. Expect a mild malt profile, subtle hop bitterness, and a crisp finish. Golden ales often feature notes of biscuit, honey, or grain, and they're usually low on bitterness. While not flashy, they're extremely versatile, the kind of beer you can bring to a cookout or unwind with after work. Compared to Triton's more experimental offerings, Hometown Hero is grounded. It's a callback to traditional American beer culture, elevated with craft precision. Pouring this beer into the glass is quite the sight. Right off the bat, it comes out a bright yellow with a large, fast-forming white head that towers confidently. The foam itself has a mix of bubbles from fine microbubbles to large ones, giving it a lively, almost fluffy look. And what stood out to me is how well that head holds up. It doesn't fade away immediately like some light beers tend to do. As the pour settles, the color deepens into a beautiful golden yellow, almost reminiscent of the Mango Barn Phantom Goes, but with a brighter, more wheat-like haze. Speaking of haze, this beer is definitely opaque, giving it that unfiltered appearance typical of a wheat beer. It wasn't exactly what I expected from a golden ale, which I usually imagine as crystal clear, but honestly, it looks fantastic. Rich, golden, and inviting. Surprise number 2 with this beer came the moment I lifted the glass to my nose. Right away, I picked up on those classic toasty, biscuity malt aromas you expect from a golden ale, along with a subtle note of honey sweetness weaving through. But what really caught me off guard was a noticeable hint of lemony citrus. It was brighter and sweeter on the nose than I had anticipated, almost as if someone had added a splash of lemon zest into the mix. At first, I was honestly a bit skeptical. I started wondering, is this how it's supposed to smell? Did this beer turn, or is this intentional? But after a few more sniffs, I realized it wasn't off-putting, just unexpected. I couldn't find much online to confirm this specific aroma profile, but it definitely made me curious to see how those flavors would translate on the palate. Cheers. Tasting this beer was pretty much a direct reflection of how it smelled. Right away, I got that biscuity malt character with subtle honey sweetness, but what really stood out was the citrusy note, and this time it felt even more pronounced than on the nose. Unfortunately, it was almost too pronounced, to the point where it felt slightly out of place for a golden ale. As I kept sipping, I couldn't shake the feeling that something might have gone wrong. That bright citrusy tang dominated the flavor, overshadowing the malt backbone I was hoping to taste. The mouthfeel itself was light and easy drinking, true to style with a clean finish. But as the beer warmed up, the flavor profile shifted even more, and not in a good way. Normally, I enjoy drinking some beers closer to room temperature to open up the flavors, but in this case, it actually became less enjoyable the warmer it got. Overall, Hometown Hero Golden Ale left me feeling a little conflicted. On one hand, I can see what Triton was aiming for, a straightforward, easy drinking golden ale that pays tribute to the community. The biscuity malt and subtle honey sweetness delivered on that promise initially, but the unexpectedly strong citrusy note threw me off, and as the beer warmed, it lost the crisp, clean drinkability I was hoping for. I honestly can't say for sure if this was the beer's intended profile or if something went off during storage, but it just didn't quite land for me in the end. In a way, this beer kind of reminded me of reconnecting with a friend or family member you haven't seen in years. At first, it's warm, nostalgic, and feels like the good old times. But as you spend more time together, you start to realize that one of you, or maybe both of you, have changed. And while the memories are still there, it's just not quite the same anymore. Still, I appreciate the concept behind Hometown Hero. It's a beer brewed for the locals, for the friends, families, and neighbors who walked into Triton Brewing after a long day, looking for something simple and comforting. Even if this particular can didn't hit the mark, it's another reminder of what made Triton Brewing such an important part of the Indianapolis beer scene. So thank you for joining me on another episode of The Final Pour, where we raise a glass to remember Triton Brewing and the beers that left a mark on our local scene. Have you ever had Hometown Hero Golden Ale? Or do you have a favorite memory from Triton Brewing? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. And if you're enjoying this series, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Klaudless and Indy and Klaudlessmedia to keep the pours flowing. And as always, drink local and cheers.